But what was cool though for The Boy and the Heron is because I forgot how much I never used to watch dub because it was like frowned upon in high school. You're like, oh, why aren't you gonna watch the Japanese one, right? Oh, subbed. No, yeah, subs. No, dubbed,
Sub.
dubbed.
Oh,
So
dub. Oh,
they were
yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah. Right.
like dub or sub, right? And
Yeah.
everyone's like, oh, I can only watch anime and sub, right? But because I watch it at 2 times speed now, it's like I can't read the
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
subtitles,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
So I have to listen to English. And then when I watched The Boy and the Heron, I forgot all the Japanese words that I knew. So they were saying it, and I was like, "Oh no, it actually means this." But your like subtitle, like, so he'd be like "hi," which is like yes, but then it would be like "yes, ma'am," and you're like, "No, there's no ma'am there," because they don't like differentiate like that. It's just like yes. But I think to like make it more understandable for the Western audience, they had to add those additional words,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
context kind
Yeah,
of
yeah,
thing.
exactly.
Yeah. But it's weird though, because it's like in your subconscious, you never think about how much is sunk in just by like listening and then reading it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? It's almost like Rosetta Stone in that way. Like the Rosetta
Yeah,
Stone where you
yeah,
can
yeah,
like
yeah.
learn.
Right.
Yeah. I tried to learn Cantonese back in the day using Rosetta Stone. And that's how they would do it. They'd like say a conversation and then they'd say it in English. So
Mm-hmm.
then you can start like understanding the context of how things are said. Have you noticed that? And you're like, I mean, not with, because I know you speak a different language, but like Japanese. Have you noticed that too?
Yeah,
It's like,
I always do.
you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, uh, I I look at the different versions. Even the dubbed versions are always going to be different too, because they can only play
That's true
with
too.
so
Yeah.
much space that they have, right? With the words that they
Yeah.
can use. So
Facts.
even that changes from the English subtitles.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. 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 It's weird. Like we're such a sponge for, I mean, I guess even that's a great example of like how you can learn certain words in Japanese. It's like we're such a sponge to our environment and we don't even realize it. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like I didn't realize I was learning those Japanese terms until it's like, oh yeah, that just started clicking because they keep repeating.
Yeah.
And English, right? When people say like they learned another language just by speaking it, there's actually, if you think about how many words we actually use, it's probably limited to about like maybe 200.
Hmm.
Only when we're getting really deep with it that we
Sure.
start using words that are like more arbitrary. Like
Yeah,
even
yeah,
the word
yeah.
arbitrary, it's like that's a higher level of English that you're
Hmm. Yeah,
using.
you're not going to
You know
use
what I'm
those
saying?
in normal terms. Yeah, yeah.
Right, right,
In
totally,
regular
totally.
dialogue.
So
Yeah.
right, right, and then it makes you think like maybe I could learn way more languages. Like maybe there's like you're looking at the mountain too big. If you want to learn the language, it's like no, I just need like a little hill so I can converse with people.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I think
Yeah,
it's faster to learn when you're surrounded by it. I feel just then
yeah, facts.
you're picking up on things that because you have to learn to communicate. Like that's one thing, right?
Mm.
You're so, but you're gonna quickly figure out some things, and then you can expand on those kinds of things. Of course, that's just only by speaking. That's not writing, but that's different.
Yeah, facts. Totally, totally, totally. And it's interesting that you said like the environment thing because I remember like every time I go to the Philippines, there's like a weird click in my head that like my English just like shifts to a different kind of English, and my like ability to understand what they're saying has just increased exponentially.
Hmm.
But if I was here in Canada and somebody's talking to me in that same language, I'd be like, I have no idea what you're saying.
Hmm.
But if we were in the Philippines, I'd be like, oh yeah, I get what you're saying.
Right.
Like, remember I told you my cousin and I, like, he didn't speak English and I didn't speak
Hmm.
his language, but we were having a full conversation based on like the few words that we knew.
Yeah, yeah,
And I was like, oh, this would never happen in Canada. You
yeah.
know?
Right.
Yeah. It's totally like submersing yourself, immersing
Im-
yourself in a culture is like super important. That'd be pretty cool to try. Like one day in the future, if you just like went to different places, I mean, you'd be super rich for this, but if you like went to different places for like 2 months and see how much you could pick up like linguistically, that'd be kind of cool. Yeah. There are people that I
Mhm.
work with who speak like 4 languages. I'm like, bro, how'd you do that? You know?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, even in India, it's like because you're like even next state is a different language, right? So
Yeah.
you're likely to know a few more languages than the basic one or two, right?
So what do you think that is? Is that like a mental hack? Like you figured it out, so then you're like, oh, I'm just gonna apply the same pattern to everything. You know what I'm saying?
It depends. Yeah, some of them have, even though they're next day, there is some similarities, right, to the language.
Totally, totally,
Like
totally.
the
But like this person that speaks like four languages, they speak like French, Spanish, English. I forgot what the other one was.
mhm.
Maybe Portuguese. Like I guess French, Spanish, and Portuguese are similar,
They
maybe.
could
But
be.
like I'm sure they're still pretty varied. Like so I'm like,
I
how
I've
did you
seen.
learn all
Yeah,
four?
I've seen these videos where it's like you let's just say like watermelon or something, and then like everybody in the,
Yeah.
like a British person or a Spanish person, like you're seeing how close they are. Some of these words are very
Oh, that's
similar.
interesting.
Yeah.
Yes, I see what you're saying. Yeah, totally, totally, totally. It's like it's etymology, like
Hmm.
the origin of words. Like I'll get into this later, but chronos, like
Yeah.
chronograph, time.
Hmm.
There's the jump, and like we would never like chronos is I think it's like a Greek word,
Yeah.
but
Or is it,
time is an
it's
English word.
isn't that the Titan?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, 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 yeah. But like thinking about it, right? It's like that's the trace, and maybe that's how it is in like Spanish and the other three languages he knows. Maybe they have a like a through line,
Well, I think they would
just like
be
chronos. Okay, I get it.
yeah, a lot of these ones like his I think what historically Latin was the Europe's older language. So if they're connecting
Oh, okay, interesting.
from Latin.
Okay, okay. And then like similar,
Hmm.
like it'd be like the chronos thing. Like even if you hadn't heard. Well, maybe you would have had heard Chronos before. The only reason why I knew is the video game, the god,
Right, right, right.
like time. Yeah, it's weird too. Like, how do you how does one look at language in their head? Is it like this is a different way of saying this, or is it like these are more additions to my vocabulary? You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah. What I understand is I think that it's really a different way of, like, some words are not doesn't they don't exist in other languages, like in English, to
Yep,
compare
yep,
to like some
yeah.
Indian languages, let's say. So the expression or the way that you say it or way that you understand it is much more different. That sometimes you can't exactly translate some words, right?
So then it's like those words become additions, and then like the other words become synonyms. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? Like it's like, oh, these are just other words to use that word.
They're trying to get that meaning, but it's always not the same. It's just, it can't be
Okay, you totally, totally. So
in all
I was trying
circumstances.
to figure this out.
Hmm.
I was trying to figure this out on the drive back this morning. Because like I was going through the Japanese words that I knew from the boy and the heron. And it's like, so Kasan is mom, right? But I was like, when I was thinking about it in my head, but maybe I'm doing this all wrong, so I want to ask you because you're like more linguistically, your prowess is better than mine because you have an actual language that you fully understand. Whereas mine's like kind of drips of it. So anyway, Kasan means mom, and then when I was thinking about the word, I just imagined the mom, but
Hmm.
I wasn't thinking like Kasan mom, mother,
No, no, no. Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? It's
yeah,
like
yeah.
I wasn't creating synonyms for it. I was just like seeing the picture in my head. Is that is so maybe it's not even a
I think,
synonym like
yeah, I think if you know the language, it's going to be just like that.
the picture, right?
Yeah,
In your
yeah, of
head.
course, yeah. But
So
I don't know
okay,
if
yeah, because
everyone's
I'm like
mind works the same though. Some people,
that's what
again,
I'm wondering.
that's.
Like, how does this work, bro? How'd you learn four languages, bro? Like, tell me the hack. I want to learn it too.
I think
I
it's,
just don't
but
get it.
I think when you're young, it's more malleable. And then I guess
Hmm.
if you're between, I would say like those languages that are next to each other, Spanish, French, right, Portuguese, they have some
Yeah,
similarities. So there's gonna be, you're gonna catch up, you're gonna pick up on those things, and then
easier.
yeah, it'll make it a little bit easier. Yeah.
Or maybe it's even like the rules. You know
Hmm.
how like I don't even know the English rules. But it's because when you grow up with it, like you don't have to study it as like a language. But then listening to people who have come from a different country and then learning English, you're like, oh, your rules are different. I'm like, what rules are you talking about? You
Hmm.
know? But like, I guess with uh, all right, we'll go with French because I know that this term. So, je, je ne sais pas or something like that. Je ne. So like ne and pa at the end of the middle word creates a no.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? But like for us, it would just be like I don't understand.
Yeah, right.
So je ne, I don't, and then understand, and then but you have to add pa at the end.
Yeah,
You know?
okay. Mm-hmm.
But you're like, oh, that's a rule that I wouldn't have known. So for me, it would have come as like je ne sais or whatever. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
like, there's specific ways you group words together, like conjunctive words. Like, well, there's an English lesson podcast. But you know what I'm saying? Like the cat went to the store. There's a bunch of words in there that join cat and store together.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think those are our rules. Maybe that's what it is.
Yeah, but I think
That they're
there's
saying that
yeah,
our rules are different.
but I think I've heard like where French, because of the rules, it makes it a bit easier to learn it.
That's what I've heard.
Because
That's what I've heard. English is the hardest one because our
Mhm.
rules are broken all the time.
Yeah.
So even if you say something that it's like, oh, this is how you should do it, it's like, but then colloquially speaking, nobody's speak that way.
Yeah. Right. Exactly. Writing is different than talking, like how you speak it to somebody. Yeah.
Or totally. And like, there's another one. So like, Japanese gomenasai is I'm sorry. I'm pretty sure it's I'm sorry. But then in the anime, they were going gome.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't add the nasai. So I was like, oh, is that more like the colloquial, like sorry versus I'm sorry? Like, you know what I mean? Like the more formal way of saying it versus the like
The common.
Like,
Yeah. Right.
It's you know what's really interesting too? So even like terms that are because like I know people who like I was saying who know different languages, and I would say something like my bad.
Mm-hmm.
And it would be so confusing at first because they're like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
What did you do wrong?
Right.
You know, and you're like, oh, I get it. It's like the way we're interpreting that term is not how you're taking it so literally.
Yeah. Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Which is fascinating too.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're like, good luck catching up, bro. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's the shortcuts, and it keeps changing. Like every generation brings their own, so it's hard to. Again, you're only going to be, if you're like teaching English, you're going to teach the proper way of English, maybe even British English, but that's not North American English. It's different.
But yeah, totally. And I think that's why it was hard for me to have classes, because I did do Filipino classes for a while, but it was just too structured that I was like, why am I trying to learn like mathematics here?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like we would never speak really in that way. And then if you did speak that way, they kind of like laugh at you for being too formal.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you know that this is a foreigner, or he's learning the language. It's not like a local.
Yeah. But I do like it when they speak that way because it's so like endearing. Because like this person's like, "Thank you so much for your input," and I'm like, "Why did you say it like that?" You know what I mean? But it's like that is how you like would have learned
that. Yeah,
like,
yeah. That's true.
Greetings to all. And you're like, oh no, we don't say that, bro. Like, but okay, I get where you're coming from.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, people are so cool.